Welcome to Reality Test. I'm Dr. Ray.
And I'm Dr. Kay. Feel free to check in and take a seat wherever you like. We're back in Traitors land. We're in Ireland or Scotland or one of the two in a big old castle. And we're excited about it.
Yes. With our kilts on. Better than Sandoval's.
Oh, gosh. Yes, most things would be. Oh, goodness. I will say they've been sort of funny about like how little they're really including him. I'm into that. I think it's good. He can have like a little bit of comedic relief without it being too endearing. I think they're handling it well with that.
Yes. He's kind of being played a bit as the like jester or the fool a little bit, which I think is an appropriate place to put him.
And in some ways it's a gift to him, right? Like he's not being the villain. He's the fool at it, which I think is a gift.
Fine. Yes. Could be worse for him, for
Absolutely.
Sure. But yes, we will see how it all shakes out. Perhaps he'll get a little more villainous as we go.
Exactly. I think if he comes for anyone we like, they'll play that up. So
I hope so. I don't think him and Chriselle are done. I think that will rear its head again, and I'm here for it. And I hope Chriselle comes out on top because she should.
I bet she will. I bet they'll play it that way too. And she's very well spoken, and she'll be able to just sort of like, cut to the chase. That conversation they've had so far was very cut to the chase, and I liked it, the way that she like, here's what I think what's going on, and we had a conversation about it. So I think you understand why I say that.
And I don't like you.
And we're all set.
We are good. But yes.
So,
well, it's lovely. Talking about the Traitors last week was so fun, and I'm so excited to get back into it this week.
Yeah.
But before that, I would love to hear what is on your mind and heart this week.
So, okay, yeah, I guess we should get on with the show. But I
guess.
Yeah. I know, right? I guess. I don't even know what to do right now. I'm like stuck.
Yeah. Do we end? We can do this.
We can do this.
We are therapists. We can regulate our emotions. We can carry forward.
Yeah.
And as we've talked about before, joy is a radical act. And we can pursue that on the very joyous show that is The Traitors, which I'm obsessed with. I love this season so much.
Glad.
It is so much fun.
Oh, I'm so glad. Me
all
too.
The dynamics, all the moves, all the missteps. I love every second of it. I am so here for everything that's happening, or most things that are happening. Some of the goodbyes have been hard.
Yes. Some of the goodbyes, also some of the like more emotional moments. Like, for example, for me, like one of the things I just hated to see was Carolyn feeling isolated and alone, and then being talked about behind her back was just, it was tough, So there's some moments where I'm like, I'd rather not that be happening, but everything else, it's not the show, I'm glad the show showed us that. But yeah, I agree. It's a delight of a show. It's a fun escape. I will say, to the point of like, we're therapists. It's also true that we're humans. And I think like we've talked about this before, that co-regulating with a peer or with somebody that is able to sort of like get as upset, but maybe down one notch, so that then we can start to go down one notch together, notch at a time. Is a really both healthy for your brains, literally helps improve our brains, and to be able to have that in a relationship with somebody, but also is very much like emotionally coping friendly. Like we were doing that earlier about more personal things off mic, and just having that with somebody is such an important factor in life, and feeling the joy of life. Relationships are that thing. I really have to say again. I don't know. Did you see that like Harvard did a study that was like about relationships from like decades and decades? They were doing this study that found the one thing that like helps with living longer is relationship.
Oh yeah. Was that like maybe a year ago that came out? Or
yeah.
I remember reading that and being like, yep, it's
we
just
know.
True.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're RCT therapists, relational cultural theory therapists. And so we know from just the literature and the theory that like that's been a theory since the 70s about is like one of those major healing factors, that a therapist focusing on the therapeutic relationship as the healing mechanism is very successful. That's a successful type of therapy. And the common factors research shows that too, that regardless of what theory you're using, if you're focusing on the relationship as well, they're more likely to have a good outcome. And so for us, like hearing that relationships are also part of what helps people live longer and be happy, it's like, I know. We've thought that, but it's nice to have the research behind it too.
We need each other. Bottom line.
Yeah.
We just do.
Yeah. Which is the same as the neurobiological research and the brain research, which has shown the same thing. Our brains are wired for empathy. Our bodies are wired for empathy. There's a reason for that. We're meant to be in relationships and have love as like a form of support and growth. So that's what I'm relying on. That's all I say. I meant to say about this whole very long rant was that just to say that that's a big piece of how we're coping with the election as well, or like the inauguration now. And thank goodness for you, and thank goodness for our relationships in a broader sense. Similarly, thank you to our members, and we're going to do our shout outs at the end of this episode. Stick around. Our Patreon allows for a little bit more of getting to know each other with you all, not just the two of us. So we hope that you'll come join us, get to know us a little more.
Love that segue. Yeah. That was perfect.
Right? Bringing us right in to Take it away, dear Dr. Ray, with episode 3.
Episode 3, love. So they're still in the Traitors turret. What's a turret?
The turret is like
Kate?
That little like tower thing with like that they go into. Yeah. There's like a well in the middle, which confuses me a little bit. But yeah, so that's like a just architectural design, a turret.
Got it. Turret. So this is after Rob joined the Traitors. And, you know, everyone's excited and like, oh shit. Danielle asks Rob if he knew it was them, and he said no, he didn't know. So Danielle says she's so happy to have him on the team. Tells us that it's better to not have him on their team than against him because, yeah, he's a force. Rob and his test. So, yes.
Yeah, you said not to. I just want to throw that in there.
Oh,
better
sorry.
To have on our team.
Yes.
Totally happens.
Yes. Totally. And Rob said he's not too thrilled about his fellow Traitors because he said they couldn't be more different. So I see you have a segment here about that. I'm curious what your thoughts are.
That's you.
Oh, is it me? Mm-hmm. My bad.
All good.
I felt annoyed. Like he came in as if he kind of owned the place from my perspective. Yeah. And I think that's just his style. And I think his style just bothers me sometimes. Mm-hmm. It's just like a little, like, I'm here and you all need to bow down to me because I'm Mr. Reality TV and I'm so good at this. And there's something about that just rubs me the wrong way. But also when I see him in action, I also kind of respect the way he moves because he truly, people have said it. This is not an original take, but he is like a mobster. Mm-hmm. He will be loyal to the people he needs to be loyal to until they cross him and then he's done. And it's kind of fun to watch, but it also I think it's rooted in a few things. I think it's rooted in sexism, deep intelligence, and this sort of class thing. Yeah. Where I think his Boston accent allows him to seem more relatable to people or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure, but it's compelling to watch, kind of annoys me, is fascinating. I can see why he has been on TV for so long.
And if you go watch his first season on Survivor, it's like, I don't know, he's like magnetic, you know? And I think part of it is like that he was a little bit of a dick and he came up in that era where it's like being a little bit of a dick was really attractive and also like showed a sort of dominance that made people want him to like them. And I think that's how he's been able to run all of these shows since, is like he doesn't say much, like we were talking about last time. He doesn't say much so that when he does say something, everyone's like waiting to hear. And because he's sort of like aloof, people just really want to be the one chosen one that he likes, you know? And I think that gets him so much play. I agree about the sexism piece. I love your take on the class piece and associated with the sort of Boston accent. Unfortunately, being associated with maybe a little bit lower income or lower SES, and therefore is making him more approachable. Love that. I also want to say he is, very strategic, very smart. He does think of himself as like the king of gaming shows, which gets him in trouble, right? Like he got kicked off of Deal or No Deal Island. This was like season last year or so. He went through the whole game being cocky and actually did great. He made it to the final, okay? Wow. Which is wild. He didn't get kicked off before then. Made it to the final. And because he did not listen to the instructions correctly, he got completely disqualified. Wasn't allowed to play in the final, so he can't win.
Wild. There's something about hubris that you see it with. I saw it with Bob the drag queen too. When you get too, unfortunately, when you get too comfortable or confident in these gaming situations, is when you're likely to get got. It seems like,
they fly too close to the sun and it takes them down. And so even Rob is not immune to that. Even though that's the one thing about him that's been interesting is that he's been cocky all these years and it seems to pay off. Which is like why? Like why isn't that getting him in trouble? And so the fact that it did for once was pretty wild to watch. But yeah, it's not getting him in trouble here yet. It looks like it will be, but not quite yet. I feel the same way about like Wes. Wes is very cocky on the challenge. He's a little less on this show, but he's a little bit on the show. And it doesn't always get him. I think it has before, but not always. Same thing with Johnny Bananas, who was on last season. he was kicked out the first round, So cockiness doesn't always serve you well, and it's wild that Rob can really get away with it at a certain rate. I was realizing I want to hear your take on that first, and then before we move on, I have one more thing. But tell me what you're thinking.
I remember Wes. I have this memory that's not a full memory. When I was a kid, when I watched the challenge and Real Road versus Road Rules or something, thinking Wes was such a dick. And I'm like,
awful.
what?
Awful.
And I'm like, if Rachel, little Midwestern Rachel, who didn't always have the best politics, thought he was a dick, he must have really been a dick. So that was my memory of him in this instance. I'm like, you must be an asshole. But do you think he's grown? What do you think about him?
Yes, so immensely. So I want to own exactly what you're talking about, to be not own, to condone either, really confirm what you're saying. He was horrifically bad. Like, he would say some of the most hurtful things I've ever said to his, I've said, certainly if I had said that it would be, but I've ever heard, especially on TV. And they were airing it. He was saying it to his female partners, like, just like, you're useless, like, it was absolutely some of the worst things, and it was horrific to watch. I hated him during his first like stretch of time in the challenge. He then, like, even more recent than that was the early days. But even since then, like, one of the things he did was throw a bottle of Pepsi onto, like, a 2-liter bottle on top of someone's head. It was a woman. Yeah, she's also like one of the top female players. She wasn't at the time. She was seen as like the annoying little sister, really, at the time. And he did that, and it was just awful. Like, that is an assault. That's assault,
Yeah, absolutely.
And interestingly, the person who stuck up for her was Laurel, the one I've talked about, who's a lesbian who won, like, got close to winning a couple times and then finally won one. And I love her. She has her own problem. This was at a time when she was still in her problematic phase, but she did stick up for Cara Maria, who had the bottles, emptied on her head. So that was a good moment for their friendship. And they don't really have a friendship. They're on and off again. But anyway, point being, big moment in history, and it was Wes's fault. So he has made some very poor choices. I will say he has grown. He has also acknowledged that he made some really bad decisions and was like a terror, He has not grown in terms of being cocky. He's like rudely cocky,
cocky.
Yeah, like rudely so, and almost to the point of being laughable, which makes you think it's like a bit. But I'm not 100%, I think that's also how he is in real life. I think he is also just like genuinely cocky. So that's hard to watch sometimes. It's also funny sometimes.
Yeah. Both for sure. That's helpful to know.
Yeah. Definitely had some bad days. I will say everyone on the challenge had bad days. It's like, because they've been on there for decades. And I would say also, like, Rob said some inappropriate shit. Like, everybody who's been on it for decades has said some really fucked up things back in the day. Rob has never been anywhere near like what Wes was, though. Like, even when he was younger and a little bit of a dick, he just was like sassy. He wasn't like a terror, and he wasn't particularly sexist or, so I will say that he has that going for him. He also married someone off of Survivor, and they're still married with kids.
Oh, that's really sweet. So he's a real showboater, if you will.
Yes, exactly. Showboater.
Yeah. Yes.
I want to just give you my segment. The reason you thought that was my segment is because I put a little bubble, because I have 3 segments that were carryovers from last week that I just wanted to hit on.
Oh, yes, please.
Because I didn't bring them up when I should have. So one thing was our category, game tactic or strategy that uses a psychological concept. One was diffusion of responsibility, and I'm giving this award to, or like this tactic, to the game producers, because when they brought in Wes and Derek with Rob, they used the concept of diffusion of responsibility, which is that, like, there's less responsibility put on Rob, and in this case it was less heat put on Rob, so that it sort of diffused it, made it harder for people to just come straight for Rob, which was good after they had that weird, like, awkward, everybody doesn't want him in the game moment earlier, so they kind of needed it. I would say the other game tactic is the law of reciprocity. So Wes used the law of reciprocity when he gave Jeremy the shield and hoped that Jeremy would have his back later. However, I think the flaw with this was that Jeremy still kind of associated it with Rob, because Rob comes in and he goes, "Did you give it to him?" It sort of like made it clear that Rob told Wes to give it to Jeremy. So it kind of ended up really helping Rob more, I would say. But it helped no one, because Jeremy was evicted come in the episode we're about to talk about. So sad.
He was.
Oh, I like Jeremy a lot, too.
I was heartbroken. And I actually was like, he's one to watch last episode, and then gone.
I would have said the same thing. Like, I think I might have agreed with you, too, because he really is. He's great, and he was a great player on Survivor. He's very smart, very attuned. So I like him a lot. I would say a psychological concept that would have made a given tactic or strategy better was the idea of confidentiality, which honestly we could probably think of 30 or 40 things that are examples of that. But for me, in this case, I was talking about Dylan, telling Robin directly, if it's not you, it's Bob the drag queen, telling Robin that he thought it might be Robin. I mean, I think telling everybody whom you think is the traitor, including the people themselves, it's probably like a not super solid idea. And I think he learned that from the missteps he made, which is good. And the last one is Derek. When I said that I had brought up that I thought that he was playing a politically or strategically smart game, it was based on stuff that turns out had happened in episode 2. So I just want to raise it now, which is that he ended up giving Dylan his shield. And he told us, yes, it's best to keep around your own show. But I also want somebody outside of the show as well to have my back. And he actually even said, like, because there aren't many of us. He didn't say, because I'm going to take them out. Whereas Boston Rob said, I'm going to be close to Survivor people, but then I'm going to stab them in the back. Derek said, I want to be close to these people to the end, and I need someone outside of it too, just to like up our numbers, just for that reason.
Yeah.
So the fact he's
Smart.
keeping an eye on his numbers, the fact he thinks of his own show as being worth keeping around, which has always been the case so far, that has always paid off. The fact that he added a number, he got to the end of Big Brother and won because he was a number 1 of 2 players, and they were like a 2-person alliance that just dominated the whole season. And then he took his number 2 with him. So like a lot of people in Big Brother will kick out their number 2 right before the end because it makes it more likely they'll win. He took him with him and he still won. And it was great. So he's really good at playing a game with one other person as their like solid alliance. We haven't seen the payoff of that yet. We didn't see them being close ever since that moment. But I thought that was a big sign. I was like, oh my God, Dylan's going to be the Cody of the season. Like that's his, his go-to person number 2. So I don't know if that is true, but that was a big moment where I was like, he could dominate, especially because Dylan is really attuned and paying attention. He's wrong about some people, but and then the last thing I liked that Derek was doing is he's keeping an eye on Rob. He's all on alert. I brought up last week how he said, to a group of people, I did know Rob gave Tony his shield, but I didn't know that Tony hadn't spoken to him since then, which is a way of planting a seed, of questioning and doubt in Rob. So Derek is on it, and I'm really here for it. I still, think he did great this week too, but I do have a different answer. That's it. That's my follow-up.
Love. And yeah, Derek is really good. It'll be interesting to see. He was wrong about Sierra in weird ways that pissed me off, but
okay, good. I think share that when we get there. But,
I was just
or no.
Yeah. I'll wait. But yeah, I didn't like it.
No.
But yeah, I think he's playing a good kind of subtle game, which is smart. And then Bob, so back to what we were talking about, Rob says he's not too thrilled about the fellow traitors and that they couldn't be more different. Bob says to the group, I will hear no other answers about a housewife. Rob says to the group, I don't hate the idea of Tom. Chrishell would look like a traitor. Carolyn says to us that she feels like a team of one. So I feel for her. Oh. We've talked about that. Yeah, poor thing.
And like the main point about their conversation was like, Bob says, I think we should do one of these 2 housewives or Tom, or he said a housewife or Tom. And then Carolyn was like, we should not do a housewife. And then even Rob said, I like the idea of Tom, which means even Rob was like pro not a housewife for a second. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking maybe Rob won out and it was going to be Tom coming into the next scene.
But Carolyn's playing a hell of a game and continuing to. She is going undetected by everyone. The only one, by the way, who has not been detected, which is pretty cool.
So true. Although Chrishell said she wondered if she could be one. But Bob the drag queen was like, no.
But he turned, Ooh, that if Chrishell remembers back to that moment.
Right. That's what I was just thinking about today.
Ooh.
Yeah. I was thinking the one person who could put something together now that Bob was found out to be a traitor was Chrishell, about the fact that Bob backed Carolyn. She could put it together about Carolyn. Yeah. I don't know if she will, because he still agreed with her that she's batshit and stuff. So maybe that will matter, but.
Yeah. Ooh. Huh. Mm-hmm. That's a tricky one. We'll see. Mm-hmm. We'll see what gets put together. That's a great point. Oof. So at the Survivors breakfast, the Cage boys, so our Rob, our Derek, our Wes, come out first because they're definitely safe. No surprise there. Dylan called Wes West in testimonials, which is fun. I like the idea of someone getting his name wrong because he's just a dick.
Me too.
He's not just a dick, but he can be not nice.
Can be, yes, totally.
Danielle speaks to the group that's at breakfast so far. She's super obvious about shaking, and she's talking a lot about Bob the drag queen. She's just doing a lot.
The most. Yeah. Did you know she was doing this? She was like, look, I'm shaking. She's like, oh my gosh. Did you remember that part where she's like,
yeah.
She's like, look, you guys, she's like, you know, she said to someone next to her, you know that I'm scared that I might be murdered. Look, I'm shaking. As if like, I don't know. It was just sort of, it was so not helpful, I think.
Yeah, I think doing less would do more for her. And she tells us in a testimonial that she wants everyone to make sure she knows she's shaking. So this is a move for her. And Rob says in the testimonial she's talking way too much, and I agree. And Jeremy was on to her and totally right. And I think they're on to her. It's just a matter of when. It's interesting how, because usually it takes people a long time to kind of get a traitor. It seems like now they're on to quite a few of them. So
yeah.
I'm intrigued to see how this will play out.
Yeah. It reminds me of the one with, the season 2, how they like kind of caught on to Cody quickly, and then they caught on to, I think, the second person somewhat quickly. Or no, not Cody. That was the first one. Or no, it was Cody. Cody and then Dan, or was Cody the first season? I don't remember.
Cody was the first season, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking of the second season when it was like Dan, and then soon after, I think it was the second. But so they added someone back in, and then that made it last longer. Like Kate and Phaedra went longer. I have a segment here, which was just about who's playing a sloppy game and why. And obviously, I thought that Danielle was playing a sloppy. So here's where I had a producer psychologist. This was different.
But we are so grateful to you all for being here with us. Please, Kate, tell us more about our gratitude.
I was gonna say, which means we're gonna give our shout outs. So yeah, fun, which is our Patreon. So please do check out our Patreon. It's patreon.com/realitytest, and it's in our show notes. Go check it out. You can follow that link, and you can become a free member. And we got free members this week, which is awesome. So glad y'all joined us. And you can see that being a free member, you get access to stuff. You get our podcast, the audio podcast, as soon as it comes out. You will get access to things like trailers. I've started doing 2 different versions of trailers, and one is a version that's a minute long that'll go on social media, and one trailer for our info videos is more like a minute and a half, and sometimes more like 2. And those longer videos are like only available, are available only for our free members and beyond. So you can be a non-paying member and still see a longer sort of clip and learn more about our info videos. And so there's other types of content that'll be just for free members and beyond. That said, we are only going to do shout outs for paying members. And so that'll be something reserved for that. And that brings us to our next fun topic. I will say, last week I did say maybe we'll have no one, right? So I gave this a really low bar, and we did receive one paid member.
Yay!
Thank you so much. And her name is Daisy, which I love so much. It's like Daisy from The Bachelor recently. Like, go Daisy Faulkner. You're a delight. We love you, Daisy D. You're a delight. Daisy D-light. We love you.
D.
Thank
Daisy
you, D.
F. Yes.
Daisy F. And Daisy D-light, Daisy F. We're delightful fans of yours, and appreciate that you are a fan enough to join us. And you are also a tier 3 member, which is very cool. You'll get some really cool content. You'll see there's some already available for you that no one else can see right now. No one else can see right now.
You are our number one great fan, and we're so grateful.
Yeah. And as a gift to you, as a thank you to you, we're going to name you each of our shout out lists, just because you still remain our original fan. And we've decided that also we're going to do something special for our first 5 members, our first 5 paying members. So you'll have to F around and find out what that is, but you'll get something special being one of our first 5. I'll mention, even if you come in as a tier 1 member right now, because we are giving out coupons or like upgrades for free, you will be able to get almost guaranteed a free upgrade. So you might as well, because there's not that many, right? No one's like rushing in and all. So you might as well, come in at a $5 a month level, and we'll upgrade it for free for you, because you might be the only one who does it this week. Who knows? And then it automatically goes to you. We would automatically upgrade Daisy's, but she already came in at tier 3. So thank you so much, Daisy. So come on in and join us, because why not? You might get in. First of all, we know this is going big. We have all of the manifestation happening here. We're just feeling
Mhm.
cosmically this is meant to be. So this is gonna get big. You might as well come in at the ground floor. Also, we're
Yes.
touch of bears. It's like what? So please help us. Make us feel better. We'll praise you just as we did Daisy Faulkner. So thank you all for listening. Even if you don't, honestly, it doesn't matter. It's still great to have you listening at all, so that we feel motivated to continue with it. Granted, we'll feel much more motivated with a little bit more community. That said, the other thing we want to offer, so this is for everybody who joins, doesn't have to be first five, is that one of the things that will typically be a tier 3 membership bonus is that we will be interacting with the tier 3 member chat more. So just at all,
Mhm.
frankly. We have two different chat rooms. One is for everybody, regardless of how much they pay, but it's only for paid members. But it's for every paid member. There's a chat room, and then there's a chat room just for tier 3 members. So for the tier 3 membership chat room, that's the one we're going to be interacting on with regularity. However, right now, partly because we have nobody, but partly because we have the time and space, therefore, that we will be interacting with the chat one, and partly as a bonus, we'll be interacting with the tier 1, 2, 3 chat room. So if you get in at this ground level in the next month or so, you'll be able to chat directly with us, and we would so love
Mhm.
to do that. So come on in, say hi, be a part of our founding members. We already are just by listening at this level, so why not make it explicit and help out, so we can also be excited to welcome you in. So those
Yes.
are my thoughts, my full thoughts about the Patreon. But that said, you were about to say something and I cut you off.
Oh, no, not at all. Yeah, just come on in now. Even if you're not ready to come in at a paid level yet, you can still join us at the free level. We'll still be very happy to have you
Oh
there.
yeah.
And yeah, also remember to download us, to
Yeah.
follow us on Instagram at Dr. Ray Pods and Dr. K Pods, at YouTube at what is it? I
Okay, I was like,
forget.
wow, you're going strong here. You're going right for
I'm
the social
going. I know
media. I
those
like
two.
it.
I know those two.
Okay, good. You started us off strong. So then we're also on TikTok at Dr. RealityTV, and we're also on YouTube at Reality Test Pod. And then on Facebook, it's the same, but without the at, because it's just a page name. The last thing I'll just mention, which I forgot last time, is we also have an email address, which is realitycheckpodding, PODDING, reality check, not test, realitycheckpodding@gmail.com. Please do email us, like suggestions, feedback, questions. You're so welcome to email. And if you get on our email list and you give us your email, we'll include you on our updates and so forth. So come on, join whatever level you want, any type of interest you want, like any type of program you use. We're here and happy to chat. So delightful. Thank you all so dearly and wonderfully. You are in our hearts and minds.